Hey y'all, today I want to talk about our negative entities feeding off of our energy. This title comes from what I've been seeing online lately, having everybody just went through the death of Charlie Kirk and his funeral. Also, there was like a stabbing that happened in Charlotte. Schizophrenic man stabbed a Ukrainian woman. A lot of people online are saying that when a bunch of people get together and feel a certain way, negative entities are feeding off of the energy created from these people. And so there's like this conspiracy, which I love conspiracy theories, I'm not against that or whatever, but there is this conspiracy theory that the evil elites or whoever, or demons or higher negative entities, are out there creating turmoil in our world to get us to all feel upset, worried, whatever, and we're all batteries, essentially. And so this energy, this negative energy we're creating, is feeding those negative entities. That's the premise that a lot of people are putting out online, especially in the spiritual community. And a lot of people are eating it up, and they're like, yes, that's what they want us to think. That's what they want us to feel. They want us to be upset. They want us to do this so that they can feed on our energy, whatever. I disagree with this because I'm a non-dualist, because I think all things are one. I don't believe there is some other person out there feeding off of me. I have to have this stance because of what I came out of. I came out of a cult, a religious cult that was all about the theys. It's us versus them mentality. That's what cults thrive on. And religions say we are this way, and there's an other person over here that is different from me and opposing me. And that essential nature is flawed, I think. I think all things are one. There is no they out there. There's maybe the illusion of a they, but ultimately all things are one. All things are the consciousness of God. So because of that, I can't accept there is a negative entity out there feeding off of me or creating these problems for me. So I have a few notes here. Are negative entities harvesting our energy? No. I believe all things are one. I used to believe in a God who was separate from me. I would cry out to him in prayer and never feel heard, much less receive an answer. Can anyone relate to that? You know, the God of the Bible is this distant God sitting on a throne, and you just cry out to him, Lord, Lord, heal my loved one. Lord, Lord, do you hear me? Like, you never hear anything in return. It was only when I realized God was within me and within all of those around me and within nature, within this tree, that I started to feel God, finally. He was so the patriarchy God, I don't believe in that God anymore. I believe in God as all things, and all things are one. So believing in that separate God was part of my beliefs in duality. Now I believe all things are God, so I can't believe in these separate entities that are harvesting my energy. See where I'm going with this? Okay. I believed in the enemy, aka the devil, who was also separate from me. So here's the evil entity that I used to believe in. Along with his demons were also separate from me and against me. They were always out to get me and opposing me. So when I left Christianity, when I left that religious cult, I got rid of my beliefs about a separate God and a separate devil. So trying to go back to that type of thinking, that there's some separate person out there to get me, I see that it's the same thing. It's just a different chapter of the same book, and I'm done with that book. This type of thinking, the thinking about a separate God that wasn't within me, a separate devil that was out to get me, this type of thinking led to a lot of anxiety and paranoia and depression back then when I was a Christian. I was always thinking someone was out to get me. I was depressed because I thought God was outside of me and he doesn't really hear me. Since then, since I've deconstructed Christianity, now I'm a non-dualist. Since then, I see God as everything, including me and all those around me, even those who are evil, quote, evil. So I have to reconcile, like, even evil is God. And then also, you can prove it with the Bible. I see in the Bible that God has a shadow side. In the Bible it says, I create light and darkness. I create good and make evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So we see God is one creating evil in the world. It also says, where can I run from your spirit, O Lord? If I go up to the heights, behold, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, Sheol, behold, you are there. So God is even in hell making evil to happen. So therefore, I see all good and evil as the same one thing, God. God is all things are one, even the bad things are a result of God. They're not some separate entity out there opposing me. It's not an us versus them. All is God. Just as all those around me are capable of both good and evil, so is God. All is God, so I must reconcile both polarities. So I do reconcile that in this life there's polarity, there's light and darkness, shadows. There is evil, there's good. And that's a part of our world. It's a part I don't understand about our world, but the material world needs polarities and differences in order to teach us things in this life. So I do recognize that there's polarities and they're good and necessary. But as far as like separate, the good and the evil being separate from one another, I reject that. And that the light and the dark polarities are separate. I feel like it's the same, different sides of the same coin, some people say. And now I see heaven and hell as not literal places, because heaven and hell would be the most separated you could ever get in that type of thinking. I don't see them as literal places, but as states of consciousness. Similarly, good and evil people and entities are just arising from different states of consciousness. But ultimately, all is the consciousness of God or source. So I see consciousness as like a spectrum. And like insects and animals, they have like a lower level of consciousness, of awareness. And then it rises to humans, and then some humans have higher level of consciousness and awareness than other humans. And but ultimately it's all consciousness, and all consciousness is one. So heaven and hell would be like where you're choosing to dwell on the spectrum of consciousness, like anger, rage, envy, guilt, shame. These are like the lower levels, the hell levels of consciousness. And then bliss, happiness, gratitude, those would be higher levels of consciousness. If you were dwelling in those states, you would be in heaven or bliss. So that's how I see heaven and hell now, and evil versus good people. Also, I see evil people as mentally ill. I did a video about this previously. That a better way of looking at evil in the world is to see them as mentally ill. There's something wrong with their brain. Because I think that's fundamentally what it is. They're lost. Not that they're unsaved, they haven't believed the gospel, but that they're lost in their true identity, which is in Christ, in God, pure awareness, oneness. Because if they did that, they could love their neighbor as themselves, because they see that they are their neighbor, and they wouldn't harm another person again if they were to wake up to that realization. That would be their eyes being open, and they would be saved, in my way of thinking. Okay, so this is what I would say to people who are believing that there are separate entities out there harvesting our energy. I would say that, in a way, believing in Satan or the boogeyman or the evil elites who are out there to get you and harvesting your energy, in a way, believing in this makes this to appear real. Our thoughts and beliefs create our reality. So if you're believing in evil elites out there harvesting your energy, in a way you are creating that as truth, as reality for you. And you'll probably see things to reinforce that in your life. And then I have a question. How is believing in an evil other just reinforcing that negative energy in the world? How is your belief in an other person that's separate from you just reinforcing negative energy in the world? Are you contributing to the negative forces by your negative thinking and anxiety that someone's out to get you, someone's harvesting your energy? Cults and religions are all about an us versus them mentality. Are you just furthering the same divisive thinking under a spiritual guise? Because that's what all the posts are about. That's what they want us to think. That's what they are doing. They're feeding off of us. They're creating division. Actually, you are creating division by saying there is a they out there, because you believe in the they out there, instead of seeing the they is actually you, and that there is a shadow side of humanity. There is light and darkness within humanity, the polarity, and by separating yourself from it, you're saying, I can't do anything about that because it's not me. Take down the wall of separation and say, I believe all things are one. So that evil person that's doing those things, whatever it may be, child molester, murderer, rapist, all these terrible dark things, instead of saying, oh, that is not me, saying, love your neighbor as yourself. This person is deeply mentally ill, and they are a human. They are part of the collective consciousness of humanity, and we need to understand this person and how we can help them because we are intimately connected to them, whether we like it or not. Instead of just putting this wall up and saying that they are separate and they need to change themselves, no, you change them by changing yourself, because all is one. It's going to affect them. And the type of logic that you are separate from them and they are evil and you are good is just going to further reinforce their negative behavior. For me, thinking radically non-dualistically, so like non-dualistic but to the most radical extreme, like this bad person is me, this type of thinking, radical non-dualistic thinking, changes everything. There is no longer anyone to fear or fight. There is no longer anyone to fear or fight. How will your thinking and your life be different if there's no longer anyone to fear or fight? And that's something to think about. So I hope this was helpful. I think I want to just end with like a moment of like quiet in case something else arises that I wanted to say, because I feel like I was getting somewhere with this talking. So let's just have a moment of quiet. sit alone in nature like this, you can really see what I'm talking about. I have pigs over here in the pasture behind the camera, and they're just enjoying the rain we've been having, and they're rooting up the ground and the mud, and they're just existing. And life is just life. There are animals who kill and eat each other. I kill and eat the pigs. So am I evil because I kill and eat the pigs? I guess PETA, people who are vegetarians, vegans, they would say I'm evil for killing and eating the pigs. But if you like bacon, like me, then you would say that's not evil, that's just life. Maybe that's a bad metaphor, but life is simple, when you're just in nature, and it's easy to see everything as one, and there's no distinction. The beauty is in there are differences. There's different animals, colors, sounds, smells. That is the beauty of life. And it's not the differences that create the differences are beautiful, and it's not something to fear. It's not someone to fear. There's no other person out there to worry about. So I hope that this was helpful. Peace.